Meeting is called to order. Let's start with roll call.
Yes,
Oh,
Chris Nason present.
Recognition.
We have a really large one later on, and so we're going to hold all celebrations this month until we get over to the other location.
Excellent. Consent agenda items.
I would like to note there was not an expense request this month, and the financial region falls through their first financial review, and it wasn't quite ready. So that'll be at the next month. So it's only consent agendas 1 and 3, and those were in your.
I'll entertain a motion. Consent agenda items
1 and 3.
1 and 3.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes. Parent representative is not here.
She was not able to be here tonight.
Faculty representative.
I will reserve till later.
Finance committee did not meet. Right.
Yeah. Not in addition to her.
Okay. And any facilities committee updates?
So just, you know, so she wants to make sure that there's enough time. And so if we have enough time after they're done to be able to talk about facilities issues, then she will. If not, she doesn't want to delay us getting over to the other location.
Thank you, Ms. Bell. Okay, we'll move to item 3.1, the mural update.
Just really quick, last time we came and we talked about kind of big mural opportunity for the gym, and the board said kind of, hey, go back and look at it and see kind of what that looks like. And we went back in, dug a little bit more into it, and Art Apprenticeship and I kind of mutually made the decision, but more them because of their timeline, that they would move over to a different project for the summer. And so that took that initial cost immediately from the lowest was 29 down to 19. And then in talking with Cade, the muralist, he actually had scoped that on the entirety of the wall, floor to ceiling, left to right of the whole gym wall. And we were like, no, that's not even. So bringing all that back in. So he and his team are working on what design fee and just a raven in the middle of that cost. So we'll bring that back to you guys as a consideration. If we can't already find donors that would help, just help him get that up onto the wall for his own water. So at this point in time, we are not coming back to the board yet until we're back with him in that significantly decreased scope and cost, if any, back to the board.
Excellent. Thanks for looking into that.
Yeah, just to update that.
All right, we'll switch to the report from faculty representative on TIA and incentives. Just keep it tight this evening, so keep your comments brief and germane.
Perfect.
First of all, thank you, Dr. Newman, for allowing us the opportunity to have a committee formed with all the different campuses together. We got really good representation based upon the input of the two principals along with myself. And I want to preface this by saying these are perceptions. These are the perceptions that in some instances have been voiced. I tried to list as many as possible out. The meeting was extremely positive. We spent about an hour listing concerns that we had, and you'll see those. But the whole purpose of listing those concerns was to also come up with a list of things that we could do. One of the things I want to stress too is not anywhere in this slideshow, I sound like it from 1942, but not in this presentation is there any mention of a salary increase. There are other incentives built in, but the reason why is because people understand that we work under very tight situations and salaries are based on things sometimes out of our own control, the state, what policies are going to put in place, et cetera. So what we found is that this is basically a mission was to identify primary areas of concern impacting hiring, retention, and staff morale, and developing possible solutions to address these issues. So what we found was that salaries and other compensation are definitely motivating factors. That teacher morale and incentive to return are equally influenced by non-monetary factors, which include, and we broke them down in some basic areas: communication, safety, procedures and protocols, and emotional and physical environment, the environment that we work in. That was the big takeaway. First, we know this, that in any organization, and this is always an issue, communication is always going to be a concern. And I do want to backtrack and say that everyone in this committee applauded the job that the administrators do. You work diligently and you work hard, and we appreciate that. So what's said up here, and that's just the truth. But and if there's something up here that touches a nerve, it is not intentional. It is a perception or what is perceived to be in the district, and we want to work it out and move forward so we can make this better for everybody. Students, parents, faculty, everyone. That's our goal. So effective, honest, and timely communication is essential in building an environment we want to see. Where works and concerns about communication. Those concerns including on a district level, not necessarily on a campus level, but on a district level. There was a general feeling that sometimes district-wide news, when it's spread, is either inconsistent, and then updates when teachers are said there's going to be an update available, those updates sometimes don't happen. That's not all the time. That may not be often. And it really depended there were some different perspectives campus to campus as well. But these are overall general views. The second one is at the campus level, sometimes because their tasks are unlimited in many ways. They are spread out everywhere. That routine communication is sometimes difficult. That's for behavioral issues and other issues, non-behavioral issues, but that it sometimes takes, and again, these are generalities, sometimes takes a long time to hear back. It's not because they're not working, it's because the administrators are doing about 2 or 3 jobs as well. But that is and I'm taking it, again, we're taking it from the perspective of the teacher. Secondly, or third, faculty, this was really more relevant at the elementary level. Faculty and other meetings, it was stressed a couple times that maybe there were some meetings that could be cut back on or unnecessary. The third one is that teacher input. Teachers feel that input is asked for often. For instance, we're asked to fill out a survey. We're not really sure when we're filling that survey out or what that data is being used to do. It's not relayed back in a clear manner, or it's never, whatever the outcome is never really relayed back to us. And in general, it was thought that it would be better to have a clear understanding of what we're doing, why we're doing it, and hear the results of what you've done. The clarity of a shared vision and meaningful incorporation of a mission statement and core values in the daily language and practices. Sometimes there's inconsistency. For instance, on a high school level, I can tell you that the 6 core values are infrequently used as far as a disciplinary tool or within our discipline process in a classroom scenario, that sort of stuff. And after we've changed the mission statement, the mission statement just isn't very clear of where we're going, what our trajectory is, what is our shared path. And that's something that these are all things that can be easily corrected. The last one is that clarity of expectations. What are our expectations? The implementation and accountability for roles. And accountability was brought up a lot of times. Accountability for everyone, teachers included. That there is a gap in accountability. And then the one that we've worked on, that I know Dr. Ellis has worked on hard, other people have worked on hard, is making sure that we have policies and procedures in place that can be easily followed and understood and that are revisited for both existing programs, but also for new programs that have been rolled out. There is sometimes a gap between our knowledge and our ability to roll out a program effectively because of the lack of the knowledge needed or a follow-up. So as promised, what can we do? These are some ideas of what we thought would be really good. At a district level, just simply try, and it's difficult to get at the district level because there's a handful of people that are trying to do everything. But if possible, and by the way, Dr. Newman, one thing that was pointed out was 3 or 4 of the teachers said the updates that you do after the board meetings, they appreciate it greatly. So appropriate, timely, transparent information and updates that will make teachers feel like they are in the loop. Establish, communicate, and monitor policies and procedures to all stakeholders involved. And then the key is when those policies are set, to update them and if necessary, to reinforce those policies to ensure accountability. The third thing is that make sure that our vision and our mission that we have, we are understanding of that, we are united behind it, and we can push forward as one single group. And then also try to incorporate both the mission statement and our core values more into the daily practices, which would include the discipline policies, where we started using the core values as terms within our discipline plan. Because if those are the foundational ideas we're built on, then those are foundational ideas that should be used every day. They shouldn't just be a poster on a wall. The next area, oh, I'm sorry, there's more. Provide teacher feedback opportunities, and that has improved greatly. But some people thought that if our name was attached to it, would we be less free to give our real opinion? So anonymously, or other people said, let's have face-to-face meetings, and then acknowledge and utilize these comments to help create a better workplace and learning environment. When feedback was given, there is some expectation that that feedback is used and that there is something that comes out of that feedback. And then finally, if we are given data or asked to send something in, communicate the purpose of it in one clear voice. For instance, there still is a little bit, but not as much, when TIA rolled out and it was new, and that's why there was some confusion. But even today, if you sit here, there is still confusion among the staff as to who might be eligible, who might not be eligible, what are the procedures and policies, how is it figured, what the formulation is. And when you ask one individual, you get one answer. When you ask somebody else, it's another answer. It is unclear. I know that Ms. Cotton has worked diligently, and that's probably, along with Dr. Newman, the voice that we need to turn to. But make sure that those things are communicated in one clear voice to everybody. A definitive answer on the questions. The second area is policies, procedures, and processes. The district, and this is an area that's already, we know, it was brought up multiple times, but that some of the policies and processes are inconsistent, or because we're building new things, they're non-existent, and that negatively impacts things like communication, safety, roles and responsibilities, those kind of things. New programs, and this is an example. So specific examples. Ms. Hill, you asked for these, so I put them in from the last time. One is new programs. For instance, we have a P2C program that was rolled out 3-4 years ago that was supposed to be sort of foundational of champion teachers and building teachers up. And that really has, in a lot of ways, gone by the wayside. Restorative discipline. 2 years ago, under Ms. Howard, we started the restorative discipline process, and really, we sort of moved away from that as well. Mentor-mentee program, which was a great idea this year. And it would be helpful, particularly with new teachers. That program we started it, and then through nobody's fault, it just sort of fizzled out. And then student engagement plans. At the beginning of the year, we did this stuff where we posted these stickers to see if every student was involved in activities and things like that. And we've never revisited that to see our success rate in getting these kids involved. Safety protocols. This is one specific area. It is not like in every area. I should have specified this more. The area of main concern really of this is not the policies that are in place, but like in a situation where the administrators on campus are tied up in a meeting or they're off campus. Who do we go to? Who do we call? What person do we reach out to? Because there's a lot of times, again, because the administrators have a lot of things to do, that the entire administrative team might be tied up in a meeting, or they may be off campus, or 3 of them might be. The question that is asked is, for safety purposes, who do we contact? And how are we notified that these people are going to be off and this is your go-to person for this? The lack of support, that's poorly worded. There's a lot of support here for teachers, new teachers, but the area that was the biggest concern is sometimes when a teacher walks in, there's not really a set curriculum. This was really more of a secondary issue, but there's not a set curriculum. And so it's difficult for a new teacher to walk in when they're inundated with that. Administrative roles, that rolls back to the other one, so we can keep going. So what can we do? This was one of the ones that was stressed more than anything else, this and one other thing later. It would be nice to have every day a designated administrator on campus that we know for sure is going to be available for either emergent situations or behavioral concerns. That means not tied up, and this may be in dream world, right? It may not be possible. So this is just an idea. Exactly. That's not in a meeting. That's not pulled into a meeting, because I've experienced the frustration, and multiple teachers have experienced the frustration of and saying we're in a meeting or getting no response at all. And while that might be for something as small as a kid saying something inappropriate across the classroom, it might be it's an emergent situation. So who is going to be the designated, like when the president, all the cabinet meets, they leave one person behind. Who's the one person that's in the Oval Office that's ready to pick up the phone in kind of emergency? And it's designated as that. And they may be handling another issue, but at least there's somebody there that's not tied up in some way that is the go-to person for that particular time. Establish well-defined protocols for emergent situations, same things. Who do we go to? Who do we reach out to? Whenever we implement a new program, try to have as much of the process in place as possible so that the implementation is smoother, and then also be willing to come back and review and reboot if necessary. Next one ties into establish a designated time for mentor-mentee programs. That was built in. I think it's a great idea. We rolled it out, but one of the issues in the day is if you were not given time to meet with your mentor-mentee because they may be teaching at a different campus or on this campus, your mentor or mentee might be in that building and your off periods aren't the same. In order for it to work, there has got to be a shared time where we get together, where the mentor can go and watch the mentee teach, where there's time for an exchange of ideas for that to work. Because we all know this, in the morning at 7:30, very few teachers want to meet. And at 4:15, 4:20, very few teachers will want to stay. So at someone, it's going to have to be built in. The other one is, this last one was suggested by the elementary coaches. Elementary teachers. I have no idea if this is an issue or not, but explore hiring behavior coaches for the elementary campus. Last one has a lot. It's community. I put these 3 quotes up, not because I necessarily agree with them, but because they kind of touched me. They sort of bothered me. That anybody would have this feeling on campus. One is I feel isolated and alone at times. I don't know who to turn to. Another one was, it seems like we focus on building relationships with kids, but what about relationships with staff, between the staff is I think what they mean. And then the last one, I'm excited about the new gym. What about the other facilities? It would be nice for us to want to create a good environment for everybody. So what can we do about these? And I didn't list a lot out because they were all over the place. And I think, again, it bothers me that people feel like that, because I think we have a great community. I think we have a strong community. And I think what they're voicing is, how can we make it better? And if this is the minority and we got 5 teachers that feel like that, that's 5 teachers too many. We need to do something to bridge that gap that makes them say, you know what? I don't care how much I get paid. This is where I want to be because I love the place I am. That's why I'm here. That's why a lot of the people are here that have stayed. That's why some of the coaches have been back there for so long. Yeah, I'm sorry. This has been discussed before, but these are some ideas. First, offer free after-school childcare to all teachers. That is a very minor expense, but little things do matter. And that was expressed by three of these members in the committee, and two didn't even have kids on it. The second one, when covering other classes for a conference period or separate from your assigned task, we can't pay people to cover. We know that, but what we could do is we could incentivize it a little bit by having a drawing. You have a form, you send that form in at the end of the quarter. You buy $100 gift card for every campus and you draw, and that includes TAs that are taken away from their responsibilities and put in a classroom. Every time there's a format, they enter their name. At the end, we draw for a gift card. It's a little way to say, thank you. We understand this sacrifice you're making. It is small, but it makes such a difference. This one may not be doable, but there was an expression if we want to build community, we need a communal space. And that would start with a comfortable faculty lounge on either every building or every campus where students or teachers can go. They can eat, they can unwind away from their classroom and away from that environment. And that is one of the places that people do come together. That's one of the times that we can come together and share is during our lunch period. And we're not talking about anything, exorbitant like a cappuccino machine or like maybe, slushy machine, but we're talking about just basic water. This is something that was brought up. We tried it. There are samples floating out there, and this is really more of a secondary issue. Trying to have alternative duty schedules, which will minimize the time teachers are on duty, and for two reasons. It's not to have duty-free lunch. It's to allow us to have time to have more clubs and organizations and times to do it. A lot of times right now, we have a very limited amount of time that we have space, and those clubs and organizations take that space up. And when we rotate through, there's groups of teachers that don't have that. And I know these are things that looking down the road, this is like a Sears wish book. Y'all remember those? This is a wish book of having an alternative duty schedule that would allow teachers more time to tutor and more time to meet for clubs and organizations. That way it would, go ahead, I'm sorry. You're finished? Yeah, I'm ready. No, I definitely. This is something that was brought up multiple times, and when our suggestion is that you start with a certain few and build your way forward, but try to provide stipends for club sponsors. And it doesn't have to be a lot, but expanding on these stipends yearly, not by amount, but by number of clubs. Try to offer some incentive. Start with the basic, the most important ones the first time, because people don't sponsor these clubs a lot of times for the money, but it is nice to have some recognition of the time and energy that you spent, like for being a class sponsor, or being a sponsor of the National Honor Society or whatever. It's nice. It would be nice to build those stipends in and then expand them over time hopefully as our budget increases and we can expand it. Offer stipends for hard to fill positions. We already do that to some extent, I believe, maybe. Yeah, the math and science. That's all right. That's good though. Expand the program that we have that for funding opportunities for certification and degrees is really successful. There was a suggestion to expand that out even further to see if we could offer maybe more of that in the future to have those tied in with like, if we pay for this, which I think is what we do, but if we pay for this, then you are going to commit to being, and the more people that we can hook in even with this, the more they have buy-in to this school. And it's a relatively, I think, inexpensive way. And even the state of Texas now is talking about for uncertified teachers to get $10,000 something up front and all kind of stuff. I don't know. If possible, exactly. If possible, provide time within the schedule and a budget, a seed budget. And I'm talking about $100 or $200 for new and existing clubs. So when a club starts, they have a little bit of money set aside that they can do a little bit of stuff with and build from that. So if they need anything, a little something, they have that money there. Offer out. Now this one was stressed by more than one as well. This is kind of a one and this costs zero money. Hourly workers. Rather than tying hourly workers to certain numbers of days off plus holidays off, let's say they're at 7 and 5. 7 that are tied to holidays and 5 personal days, combine them and allow them to have 12 days off throughout the year. Not tie it to a holiday. Allow them to choose the time that they use for those 12 days. And that way, if they wanted to come in and work on, let's say, MLK Day, then they know that that's one of the 12 days that they would have to make up elsewhere. But having more flexibility in personal days for hourly workers. Explore increasing the number of days that staff member can roll over until the next year. And we're talking about increasing it by a very minimal amount, like 1. Explore the possibility of paying a bonus for unused personal days, up to 2. And that was not a big bonus. We're talking about a $50 bonus or something like that. So if you had 2 personal days that you could not roll over, you get $100. You get something back in return instead of you saying, I just wasted those days. I should have taken them off, which would cost the district more in the long. You understand what I'm saying? Increase the amount that the district gives towards insurance. We talked about that already. And we've also mentioned this one, implement a retention bonus for returning faculty and staff. Oh, Lord. So what? Well, we are. That's what. So other things is this is something simple. We've started it, but kind of fell apart, and it's a big deal. Offer either a vending machine that staff and faculty can buy. I have a text I had an email from a parent teacher today. They wrote in all capitals about this big. We need a vending machine, and so either offer the next. Explore the beginning of an education foundation for the district, and then utilizing local businesses and resources within the Rapoport community. And then finally, and this was one that was stressed by more than one teacher, and this again hurt me because it was directed at sort of the board, is that promises made should be promises kept. And by that, I think what they were referring to is when we made a commitment at the beginning of the year that if we found extra resources, those resources would first be funneled or attempt to be funneled towards the teachers. And again, it's based on perception. And then we're funding and we're paying at least partially for all these other things. And where is this money coming from? There's a perception out there that if we buy into this, we need to keep the promises that we make. We need to go forward and make sure that whatever comes out of this meeting and other meetings that we'll have, we do moving forward. That basically is the overview of this little initial meeting that we have. And I'd like to meet for more specifics with you two if it's possible. Is that okay with you? You sure? Right now. Are y'all pull those flowers out there? Okay, but and out to any questions. And again, I want to make this clear. Our goal is not, and anything that I listed or that we listed were perceptions that were had, whether they're true or not, because there are 2 sides to every issue or every problem. And the frustration goes both ways. That we don't understand fully what they're doing sometimes, and vice versa. So it has nothing to do with us versus them. It's just these are things that are out there that are hindering people from saying, I love this place. And we can't make 100% of the people happy, but we can try. We can do our best for every Raven.
Every day.
Every day. Are there any questions?
Rolling up our sleeves and digging it, making these actionable. I don't know what from a teacher's perspective.
I think the biggest deal is we know that all these aren't not going to happen. But I think if we can show progress on any of these, moving forward, any progress that we can put, I think that would be huge. And
also sounds like a reporting back on this is what we heard.
Yes.
This is what
absolutely.
This is what is being done. This is what is tabled for some reason.
Right. And again, that's the reason we threw out all kind of stuff from things that cost nothing the things that cost a little bit of money, because we know the budget's tight. We know what we're working with. But I think to your point, Dr. Cunningham, if we can start saying, hey, and I think we'll know more after we kind of meet to where a good goal is to go and what we can shoot for and what's reasonable and not reasonable. Because like the duty schedule, quite honestly, we proposed other things, and it's not because they don't want to make the lives of teachers easier. It's because we don't simply have the personnel to cover at certain times. That's just the fact of the matter. So a lot of these on here might be like dream things.
Maybe challenge the district leaders to hear and receive and to report back to the board. Because ideally, the board is directing the district to do and go and respond back, and not necessarily the board do those things, but the board is saying, tell me what you're doing. Show me where you're meeting these. Some of them are board topics, some of them are not, right? But that may be, maybe the board holding the district accountable.
Yeah.
Right.
Or responding.
And a lot of them, I think, are honestly starting to already be addressed, like policies, procedures, and protocols. We spent a lot of time on that. That was actually mentioned through the people at the Region Center that came through. That was one of the things that they focused on. That's already being addressed. I think that'll continue to be addressed, quite honestly. I think we do need to do a better job of making sure that when we put programs in place, we follow through and continue those programs. I'm sorry.
Well, I would agree with that. I think sometimes I felt like as a board, some of those have fallen through. Like, we implement the P2C, but then we don't ever hear anything about it. So then I don't, so I think sometimes I've perceived that too, as like, okay, well, that haven't really heard anything, so I don't know what is or isn't. So, yeah, so I would agree with all those. Sir, what was the next step outcome from that?
I think the next step would be like me or a couple people from the board meeting with the administrators and looking at things that can be implemented. Because some things just aren't practicable at this point. Even though they're on here, they may not be practical. They know more than I do, more than we do. And I agree with Dr. Newman.
That'd be helpful, right? Instead of just ignoring it.
Correct.
Yes, we've talked about this and this is why at this time.
Correct. Yeah.
So maybe just responding back to those would be.
So can we leave it at that those district level, district leadership conversations will happen? And lastly, district leaders, is there any way the board can support you or any homework that we should be doing as board members with these items?
And I would say allow us the opportunity to digest them and get with the committee. And then hold us accountable for bringing it back, right? And reporting it out. I'm assuming it's okay if in my board update, I can share this presentation out with the district. Yeah, okay, perfect. And it's now in your board drive as well. So you can go back and look through since we had the issue. So it's on there with that one. So we'll bring it back.
Teacher incentive
PDF.
PDF.
Incentive committee.
I don't know why we called it that. So
Well, it
close to
wouldn't
teacher
be
incentive,
funny.
TIA.
Is it,
Okay.
so do we need to do anything to make sure that, is next month the appropriate time? It's on the agenda for next month.
Next month is a really long meeting. So we can provide you a response back within that one, that will be within a really long meeting.
And can I make one? And I'm done. I promise. I'm turning to you. I appreciate the job you do. The teachers appreciate the job you do. I don't want to feel like,
Do that.
I don't want anyone to feel like being heavy, for lack of a better word, because when I left that meeting, I felt uplifted because I'm thinking, look at the ideas that we could generate. Look at the ideas we generated. So instead of just hyping about stuff, pushing things down, we're saying, golly, let's just get this better. And if there's a misunderstanding, let's clear it up and let's move it on and keep pushing this thing forward. So we honestly can be the best school. And I personally, honestly, well, I love you, but you too, and your child. Thank you for helping decorate my house. But in all seriousness, I just want y'all to know we appreciate everything that
and decide on the school calendar. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome.
And so I would just say really quickly, we are nearing our drop dead time in order to be able to move and go. But you guys have in your folder, you have the results of the survey. We sent it out to all families and all faculty staff. We got responses back from those. We had a really good response rate. I sent you the chart. So 74.55% of parents or guardians, 75.81% of staff or teachers preferred option A. Just a reminder, option A is take this year's and move it forward. Option B was start later, give up a little bit of fall break, and add 5 minutes to the day to make everything still squish within all the other parameters that we have. So about 35% of parents or guardians and 24% of staff and teachers wanted option B. So it's overwhelmingly, when you total it up, it was 68.6% that preferred option A. They wanted the whole fall break and to keep the start and end times of the days like it is, with 31% preferring option B. So my request of you guys is that you approve us to move forward with option A.
Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve option A for the district calendar.
Second? Thank you, Shawna. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Calendar for option A. passes. We will bump board and self-assessment. Thank you for getting those in. I'm sorry, but I want to give adequate time, but I also want to make the city council meeting for this special event. So forgive us for, I feel awkward because that's a really seismic thing that y'all accomplished. And so please forgive that I'm being so technically.
Glad it's over.
Oh,
We
yeah.
don't need a motion for that. That'll just be noted.
Yeah, we don't need anything for that. So technically, there's no actionable items as we move forward, so we can adjourn the meeting officially here, but just please note, as we move, you are not to discuss any board documentation, board policies, board work, or make any decisions or committee conversations as we go celebrate our basketball team.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second. All those in favor?